Ever wondered how the same sci-fi book can be hailed as a masterpiece by one group and completely overlooked by another? That's the curious case when you compare the Hugos and the Nebulas. One fan voted, the others voted by writers, and sometimes they're just not reading the same book, it seems. I guess with awards, subjectivity is a thing. Today we're looking at 5 sci-fi novels that the Hugos snubbed, but the Nebulas crowned. These are not exactly what you'd call underdogs, but they didn't win the Hugo popularity contest at the time. However, they still walked away with the writer's seal of approval. Think of these as the quiet geniuses of the genre. They may not have made the biggest splash at the time, but they've got depth, guts, and ideas that still hit hard. One in particular I think you'd be surprised didn't snatch the Hugo. So let's get into it. 5 sci-fi gems the Hugos passed over, but the Nebulas knew was something special. First up, The Einstein Intersection by Samuel R. Delany. Published in 1967 and winner of the Nebula Award in 1968, The Einstein Intersection is a genre-bending fever dream from the always ahead of his time, Samuel R. Delany. Set in a future Earth where humans have long since exited stage left, the story follows a race of post-human beings trying to make sense of the culture we left behind. Myths, music, half-remembered hero journeys, and probably a few broken toasters. At the heart of it is LeBay, a genetically altered goat herder who takes on the role of a futuristic Orpheus. His journey is part revenge, part existential identity crisis, and part deeply poetic head trip. Cities crumble, ancient stories glitch, and meaning is consistently up for negotiation. It was nominated for the Hugo, but it didn't win, though the Nebula voters knew they had something special on their hands. It's not a book that plays by the rules, mostly because it doesn't believe in rules. So if you like your science fiction a little weird, a little mythic, and written like a hallucinatory jazz solo, this one is for you. It's short, surreal, and unlike anything else. Basically the literary equivalent of wandering into a philosophy lecture held in a dream. Up next, we have A Time of Changes by Robert Silverberg. Published in 1971 and winner of the Nebula Award in 1972, A Time of Changes is Robert Silverberg deep in his introspective philosophical era and firing on all cylinders. Set on the planet Borthon, the story unfolds in a society where the ultimate taboo is self-disclosure. Saying I is considered shameful, narcissistic, and borderline criminal. Yes, it's a world without first-person pronouns. Imagine writing your diary like a cryptic press release. Enter Kinnell Darival, a nobleman who dares to rebel against this cultural repression. Through exposure to an Earth-born outsider and a few mind-altering substances, he begins to unravel the fabric of his society's rules and attempts to spark something radical. Emotional honesty. It was nominated for the Hugos but ultimately walked away with the Nebula, thanks to its sharp psychological insight and bold narrative voice. The book plays with language, identity, and the painful beauty of vulnerability in a way that still feels fresh today. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to live in a world where therapy is considered heresy, this one is for you. Time of Changes is intimate, strange, and quietly revolutionary. Silverberg's cerebral sci-fi at its most human. At number 3, we have Timescape by Gregory Benford. Published in 1980 and winner of the Nebula Award in 1981, Timescape is the kind of hard sci-fi that makes you feel slightly more intelligent just for finishing it. Written by physicist Gregory Benford, the novel is a cerebral, slow-burning thriller about scientists in the near future trying to prevent ecological collapse. Not with protests or policies, but by sending messages back in time using tachyons. You know, just a bit of casual temporal physics. The narrative alternates between 2 timelines, 1998, where the environmental disaster is unfolding in slow motion, and 1962, where a young physicist begins receiving strange signals that could change the course of history, or just ruin his academic career. It's a story about time, causality, and the very real limits of scientific hubris. Timescape was nominated for the Hugo but didn't win, perhaps because it's less about spectacle and more about precision, like a lab experiment stretched across decades. For readers who love their sci-fi grounded in actual science, with characters who debate physics equations over lunch, this is a classic. It's thoughtful, meticulous, and sneakily emotional, like Interstellar if it swapped the black hole for budget cuts and academic politics. Kind of. Next up, Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. I know, How did this modern classic not win the Hugo? Published in 1993 and winner of the Nebula Award in 1994, Red Mars is the opening salvo of Kim Stanley Robinson's epic Mars trilogy, and it does not mess around. This is hard sci-fi with a capital S, densely researched, politically charged, and deeply invested in what it would actually take to turn the red planet green. The novel follows the First 100, a multinational team of scientists and engineers tasked with colonizing and terraforming Mars. What starts as a scientific mission quickly becomes a tangled web of ideology, ambition, and revolution. Debates about planetary engineering are given just as much weight as debates about governance, capitalism, and the human nature itself. If that sounds heavy, well, it is, but in the best possible way. Red Mars was nominated for the Hugo, but didn't win, though its Nebula win speaks to the sheer depth of Robinson's vision. It's bold, rigorous, and endlessly detailed, like a political thriller wrapped inside a geology textbook, written by someone who really wants us to take planetary stewardship seriously. If you like your sci-fi vast, brainy, and grounded in actual science, this is essential reading. Just don't expect space battles. Expect arguments about land use policy, and somehow it's riveting. Last up, we have The Terminal Experiment by Robert J. Sawyer. Published in 1995 and winner of the Nebula Award in 1996, The Terminal Experiment is a slick, accessible blend of sci-fi, murder mystery, and philosophical mind-bendinginess. Is that a word? It follows Dr. Peter Hobson, a biomedical engineer who accidentally stumbles onto something massive while he's researching life after death signals in the brain. Naturally, his next move is to create 3 digital copies of himself to test different theories of consciousness, because what could possibly go wrong with that? The result is part ethical dilemma, part identity crisis, and part sci-fi whodunit, as one of these digital selves may or may not be committing murder in the real world. What starts as a thought experiment becomes a race to understand where the soul ends and the algorithm begins. The Terminal Experiment didn't get the Hugo nod, but it did win the Nebula, showing just how well it resonated with fellow writers. It's fast-paced, idea-driven, and surprisingly funny in places, with a light touch even as it explores weighty themes of morality, autonomy, and the nature of the self. If you're into sci-fi that tackles big questions without getting bogged down in techno-babblabla, this one is a smooth, smart ride. It's like Black Mirror with a PhD and a better sense of pacing. So that's our list. 5 Nebula-winning sci-fi novels that didn't quite land the Hugo but still left a mark that's hard to ignore. Whether you're into mind-bending experiments, Martian politics, or mythic post-human goat herders, still the wildest sentence in sci-fi, there's something here worth your time. If you read one of these or end up picking one up, drop a comment and let me know what you thought. And if you've enjoyed this little awards autopsy, why not check out this next video on 68 philosophical sci-fi books to melt your brain? No, you didn't mishear. I said 68. Thanks so much for watching. If you're craving an extraordinary journey through realms unexplored, consider delving into universes directly out of my brain by checking out my sci-fi novels Black Milk and Delphine Descends. You can find more details in the description. Thanks for your support.